Hi, welcome to Embedding Values. Your business has values, but you can't get everyone to live them. Is it you? Is it them? Or something else? So let us share our masterclass on this, and we'll tell you the top 6 reasons why this happens. So let me just share my screen. So we are an organizational culture company, and we help companies shift and move their culture to be where they want it to be to achieve the strategy that they want. There's always a culture. You have it in your family, you have it in your football team, you have it in every company you work with. There's always a culture. You end up one with whatever you do. So you could either choose to shape it and influence it or take your chances. It's a fantastic quote. So this is not something you pause and say, let's wait for 6 months and then we'll do the culture thing. This is something that needs to be tackled straight away, because if you have your strategy and you have your goals and where you want the company to be, it's the culture that delivers that. And you can deliver that in the best way possible if you influence that culture. So we asked everyone on the masterclass, what is the impact of everyone not living the value? Lack of cohesion, lack of clarity, employee motivation goes down, confidence levels goes down, no trust. All of these things were mentioned in the masterclass. So brilliant culture. There are three key things you need to have a brilliant culture. You need clarity. Culture is such an arbitrary word. It's a big fluffy word. What does it actually mean? You know, people talk about it's the way we are, it's the way we live, it's the way we behave, it's the way we do things around here. But actually, how do we pin that down? So getting clarity about what your culture is really helps everyone to understand what it is and how they can live it. Measurement. So what gets measured gets managed. We say what gets measured gets improved. So measuring your culture, making sure that you know where it is at and where you want it to be, and then you can work out how to get there. Also, we talk about measuring the values implementation. How many people are really living the values? You can measure this. You can measure how the leadership are doing and also how the employees are doing. Accountability. We need accountability from each individual to live the values, accountability for managers to implement it in their teams and make sure that everyone's in line and facing the same direction. And you need accountability in the leadership to build the culture and build the values relating to it. So we have a 5-stage process here in Hello Performance that we go through with a company. We help them decode their culture, number one, pinpointing the values. Just one sec. Just wanted to make sure we were all working okay. And pinpointing the values and the behaviors that defines that culture. So making it really clear as we can be, so that everyone knows how they should behave. Deep dive, measuring that culture. So measuring where that culture is at, and also measuring as part of that, the values and how people are living the values. Then you can work out where the gaps are and then make a plan to tackle these gaps, and then create accountability around those to get that implemented so that you delight your customer and you delight your employee. So 6 reasons why everyone does not live the values. Number 1, the values do not resonate. So they must resonate with an employee for me to be able to live them, see them, breathe them, and be part of that, be part of my everyday. So they're not company specific. So they're just regular common words that are plucked out. Communication, authenticity, innovation is a great one that's blended about. It must be differentiating, and it also must be memorable, easy to remember. Are they outgrown? So when a company starts having a founder with people around them, you automatically absorb that culture through osmosis. because you're close enough to the founder. And it's normally the founder's values that create the initial culture in the company. But as that company grows, you're further away from that epicenter, so you don't feel the culture as easily. So you need to create the foundations for that and make sure it's reaching everyone and they can feel it, hear it, see it every day. Keeping up with the Joneses. So what that means is, yeah, it's a thing that companies do. They define their values. It was a tick-off exercise. Is that the reason behind having values in your company? Or how do you take that then and really make it resonate with the employees? It's delegated to HR. You know, HR, can you do that? Can you make us a nice, give us some nice values and put them on a nice poster? It will never resonate with the leadership or the employees if it's delegated. The leadership need to be part of it. Not trialed and tested. So when you devise your values, you need to have a bit of time where you live them. It's really easy to live the values when things are going as good and business is good. How about in the tough times? Can you still live and breathe those values? You have too many. We say the magic number is between 3 and 5. 3 is easily memorable. Over 5, you can't remember them at all. So make them memorable, make them punchy so that really you can bring them to life. So this is a company we're working with at the moment, and they had 4 values, and we went and tested these values to say, really, are these the core values of the company? And what they worked out is that communication and collaboration, or what we worked out with them was communication, collaboration are great, big, lovely words, but what actually do they mean on a day-to-day basis? How can I really tell if somebody's living that? How can I measure that they're living that? Not to mind get to the level of how do I bonus and performance manage someone around those. When they're too fluffy, too general, just nice words, you cannot bring it down to life. We have now helped them revise this, and this is real language that we heard in the workshops with the staff. So cross-functional group in the workshops, we roll up our sleeves so they really get stuck in. We pass on with pride, a gorgeous one where they pass on to the next part in the manufacturing, that they're proud of what they've done and they're passing it on. They take care of it, and also the sales guys are proud when they hand over that finished product to the customer, and then the other ones as well. So number 2, values are too vague. So this is a one that we see a lot, that the values are, yeah, they're nice general descriptions of we're going to be great, but it's not real specific. Or like innovation is a great one that's thrown out there. What do we mean by it? How do I know if I'm being innovating or I'm behaving in the way that is brings innovation? How do I know that I'm doing it well or not doing it well? So employees can have differing interpretations of a word. Authenticity is a very difficult word for an Irish person to say with a TH in it, but authenticity is a very common value. But what that means to me could be very different to what it means to you. So having that different, really clarifying what it actually means, translating it into behavior. So this is the goal, taking a value, like a word, care, communication, or like the guys, we roll up our sleeves, and then defining in behaviors what actually that means. And the real test of those behaviors, are they functional, are they teachable, and are they measurable? It can only even be an excuse for bad behavior values being too vague. So we give it a role is one we came across, and we saw where a manager was taking that to the extreme with his team and driving them to a dangerous level with their well-being, because he said, "Oh, I'm living my value. I'm giving it my all." Where he was. For every good thing, there's a bad side. So taking to the extreme, but by being clear on the behaviors, it helps be really clear on what is expected. So this is a company we've worked with to help them tease out what exactly their values are. Gorgeous ones: care, humility, passion, authenticity, which is really truly them. And then we brought it to the next level. What do we do? What we don't do. So what we do, we own our mistakes. We encourage others to have their say. And we are curious. So all those things are teachable and measurable. You can really see if someone is doing that, and then it's easier to give them feedback on it and easier to have difficult conversations around it. Or the difficult conversations if they're not doing it, I should say. So this is our values in Hello. We have 4: personal impact, rigor, and care. So on rigor, we aim that every project has a qualitative and quantitative process. In care, we treat everyone with positive regard. These are our values that we have created. And again, what we do is defined in there. So it's easy to help people, our employees, understand what they need to do to be living that value. Number 3, poor recruitment, not values led. So when we're recruiting people, 2 parts. If we're using an external recruitment company, do they understand our values? Is it part of the selection process on working out what people would fit good? And a really good recruitment company gets under the skin on that. Interviews, not value-based. So this is a key one. Whatever your values are, making sure you're designing questions around that. So like for us, you give honest feedback. So for example, a question in the interview could be, give us an example where you'd give honest feedback to a leader. Give us an example of where you gave honest feedback and it didn't go so well. Give us feedback where, give us an example of X, Y, and Z. So using your questions around the values to get examples of where they've lived and breathed those values really, really can help you work out, is this person aligned? Are they going to find it easy to fit in or not? So we've put the employee life cycle in there, the attraction, recruitment, onboarding, retention, and separation. And the ultimate level to get to with values is lived and breathed every day, but also that you're weaving in the values to each part of that process. So what do you do on retention to really show that you're living those values, you're pulling out, and that people are experiencing those values through the retention? Onboarding, massive. So people come into companies highly engaged, and then in many companies over time that engagement goes down. So what are we doing in there? And one key thing is onboarding has been proven to be done poorly in a high percentage of companies. So how do you get them to experience the culture in the best way so that they fit in faster and they stay highly engaged? Number 4, leadership don't walk the talk. So this one makes me uncomfortable because sometimes we in companies have to hold up the mirror to leadership and show them that they are not walking the talk. And we have the feedback from the employees and the survey and the evidence behind that, where leadership really have to look at themselves to say, are we doing what we need to do to live those values? Are we living them every day? And if we're not living them, how can we expect anyone else to do it? But it takes a high level of awareness to do that. And that's what we help leadership do. So where they're saying one thing, doing another. So behavior breeds behavior. So don't expect the employees to do anything different that's not doing what's not being done in the leadership. If you look at the leadership meetings, I talk about leadership, whether it's the board or leadership, whatever is that highest level of the company. If you look at their meetings, you can tell a lot by the meetings and ticking off, how did we do with each of these behaviors in that meeting? Let's give ourselves a rating from 0 to 10. How did we do? Not measured. So measured is the leadership getting feedback on how they're living the values. So the behaviors of the leadership is in line with the values. Rate that for me, please, employee. Give them a score. The behavior of the leadership is in line with the values. Do we think we agree or we strongly don't agree. So getting a percentage around that is really valuable to showing the awareness to the leadership team. Number 5, values are just words on the wall. This is what I experienced in a previous company as well, is that we had a gorgeous poster of these values that were really beautifully designed, but they were words on a wall. They certainly weren't lived and breathed in the company. Say it like it is was one of these examples. And when you took that, if you really did that in the company, I'm not sure. I didn't really see a lot of people saying it like it is. So really not lived and breathed. So you need to be seeing it, the values, you need to be hearing them, feeling them, and it being measured. So values being seen. So yesterday I was in with one of our clients, and in the first 5 minutes, I saw the values like 5 times. They were on the wall in the reception. When I went upstairs, they were in the wall in the meeting room. The computer that was beside me, they were a screensaver on the computer. When I opened the email to look at the agenda, on the signature in the email is the values. That was the 4 times. And then I went and grabbed a coffee, and it was even in the coffee dock, the values. So 5 times I saw it. So it's there all the time. I want to be hearing it. So in newsletters, CEO updates, or MD, or your leadership, or even in your Monday meetings, am I hearing the values coming out? Are they being mentioned? If they're not mentioned, they're not live. Am I feeling it? So I want to make sure I experience it. So if you haven't experienced it, you can't really truly say the values are being lived. So if, for example, permission to make a mistake is important, or a value or behavior that is in a company, and then I make a mistake and I'm reprimanded for it really publicly or badly, then do I really feel I have permission to make mistakes, or on that example? So you really need to feel it. So whatever it is, if care is one, I need to make sure I felt it and experienced that, because that's the proof of the pudding. And not measuring it. Again, measuring. So you'll hear me measuring all the time in here. And then last, issue number 6, undesired behaviors not tackled. That the lowest level of accepted behavior, tolerated behavior in your company, sets the bar for your culture. I'll say that again. The lowest level of tolerated behavior sets the bar for your culture in your company. Example, the brilliant jerk. So we have had that example where there was a really brilliant engineer, but treated people really poorly, but was allowed and was never pulled up on it, or there was never any consequences for it. He moved up the ranks. There was no consequences. So that set the bar. So this is the accepted level of behavior in that company. Again, not managed. Is our behaviors managed? Are measured? Are they being measured as part of the culture, as part of across the company, and in our performance reviews? Connected to promotions and bonuses. So the same way as we measure goals, if culture is important in your company, you need to be connecting it, because then it becomes important. If my performance review, if my bonus is connected to me living the values, it accelerates the speed in which these are taken on board and lived. So what's the one thing you are going to commit to doing today to embed your values? So then we had Q&A questions from the masterclass. I've written down some of them here. When a leadership, for example, put off culture, we're going to do that in 6 months. How do you convince them to do it? Or why do they do that? Well, I think sometimes leadership think of culture as something very separate. But if you have a strategy, Your culture is what delivers your strategy. So it is as important, and getting it on the agenda, making it a KPI in your company really raises the profile of it and ensures that that culture moves forward, because the culture is forming. So you can choose to influence it or take your chances. How long did it take us to devise our values? We have tweaked them many times, and every year we come back to them and tweak them. So yeah, it takes time, and we still tweak them a little bit here and a little bit there, and add in a word here and add in a word there. I would say once a year we come back and review them. We get feedback from everybody on them to say, are they still relevant? Where are we at? Can we still live them? And we also test ourselves during the year to say, in our pulse, are we living this? Are we breathing this during the year? We would recommend for a company at least 6 months to devise their values. So devising the values is not a difficult exercise, but it's the time then to go away, live what you've come up with and experience it, and then come back and feedback and see any tweaking that's needed. Another question we got is, how do you integrate it into performance reviews and bonuses? So here I would say that, first of all, performance reviews makes me a bit nervous. One-to-ones should be happening at least weekly. Great if they can be happening more often, but at least weekly one-to-ones should be happening. Quick, fast, effective one-to-ones should be happening. In there, you should know if you are living the values or not. And if you're not, you should be getting feedback on it as an employee. When it comes to the performance review, there should be no surprises. It's a test of how good the one-to-ones are during the year. Then related to the bonus, so just like you have your goals to achieve, a certain percentage of that bonus should be attached to your living and breathing values. So let me escape out of here and stop sharing. So really fantastic that you could join us and share this time on your values. What's that one thing you're going to go out to do today to help embed your values? We would invite you, if this resonated with you, we invite you to a complimentary strategy call. It's 30 minutes where we look at where do you want your culture to be, where it is today, and how can we get you there. There's a Calendly link that goes out with this recording, but also it's in my bio in my LinkedIn, or DM me and we can get that set up. So you go in and you choose the time that suits you to have this 30 minutes to really help you work out where you want to go and how you're going to get there. So thank you for joining us.